Most people who buy a wine cooler with a lock have never actually thought about why they need one. They see the lock, it looks premium. They assume it adds something. It does, just not what they think. This is the Ivation 12 bottle compressor wine cooler. 9.92 inches wide, 31 inches tall, a lock on the door, a digital LCD display, and a compressor that floors at 41 degrees. It sits at the narrow end of Ivation's lineup, literally and figuratively, at around $150 to $180, depending on when you're shopping. Ivation has appeared in this series before as a reference point, a brand with more structure and consistency than the Amazon native names, and a step below Cuisinart in warranty depth. The 12-bottle compressor is where that brand positioning gets its clearest test. It's a product with a precise use case. And if your situation matches that case, very little else in this price range competes with it. If it doesn't match, the unit's constraints become obvious fast. The lock on a wine cooler is easy to dismiss as a novelty. And in most cases, for most buyers, it is. You live alone, you control who enters your home, your wine collection is not a security concern. But there are specific situations where a lockable wine cooler solves a genuine problem that no amount of trust resolves. Offices, shared living spaces, short-term rental properties, homes with teenagers, vacation homes where access is split among multiple people. The Airbnb host who wants to make a curated bottle available to guests without making the entire rack accessible. The home bar setup in a family home where the question isn't theft, it's access control. In those contexts, a lock is not a marketing gimmick. It's the entire reason to choose this unit over the dozen otherwise equivalent compressors at this price point. Ivation's implementation is clean. The lock is integrated into the door handle rather than added as a bolt or latch afterthought. The key turns with a defined click. The door, when locked, does not give. The resistance is firm. For the buyer who needs this, it feels deliberate. For the buyer who doesn't, it adds nothing and costs nothing. It's simply there. What the lock does not do is compensate for a unit that can't hold temperature. And that part of the story is where it gets more complicated. The compressor in this unit reaches 41 degrees. That floor, the same as Ivation's larger units and the Icy Glee we tested in this series, is the single most important spec for anyone storing anything beyond everyday reds. 41 degrees covers sparkling wine storage. It covers proper cold serve white wine temperatures. It covers champagne held at near cellar rather than near serving conditions. In a 12-bottle unit at this price, that floor is not guaranteed by the compressor type alone. The insulation quality has to support it. The double-paned UV-resistant thermopane glass handles the insulation side well. We tested internal temperature stability across a 48-hour period, including 2 kitchen-active afternoons with ambient temperature reaching 76 degrees. The unit held within 1.5 degrees of set point throughout. Recovery after door openings was under 4 minutes. The built-in fan circulates air continuously, which produces a uniformly cooled interior rather than a cold at the top, warm at the bottom gradient that some units develop without active air movement. Top shelf and bottom shelf temperatures measured independently stayed within 1 degree of each other throughout the test. Vibration, per Ivation's spec and our own sensor measurement, is effectively 0 at the shelf surface. For a 12-bottle unit, where every bottle is a significant percentage of the collection, low vibration matters more than it does in a 45-bottle unit, where sediment disturbance in one bottle is less consequential. But there's a real-world caveat that the performance data alone doesn't capture. At 9.92 inches wide, the Ivation 12 bottle is narrower than any other unit we've reviewed across this entire series. That's a meaningful physical distinction, not just a spec line. It fits in a 10-inch gap between a refrigerator and a cabinet wall. It fits on the narrow end of a bar cart. It fits beside a desk in a home office without claiming workspace. It fits in an apartment galley kitchen where a 17-inch unit simply cannot. For buyers working with genuinely constrained placement options, and not I prefer a compact unit, but I have a specific 10-inch space and nothing else will fit there. The Ivation's footprint is a practical solution that no competitor in this price range matches. The unit is 31.18 inches tall and 17.72 inches deep. That depth runs longer than the width, so measure your counter run front to back as well as side to side before assuming clearance. The flat back design allows close to wall placement. Standard clearance requirements, at least 5 inches on sides and back for proper air circulation, apply and matter. In a tight alcove, verify the airflow math before installation. The tilted bottom shelf accommodates 2 bottles at an angle for active use, open bottles resting with their stoppers accessible. That detail, combined with the lock, suggests Ivation designed this unit as a service piece as much as a storage piece, a few bottles locked away, a couple presented for immediate access. That's a specific vision of how wine lives in a home. And it's an honest one. Ivation presents as a premium positioned brand. The language on the product page, equality craftsmanship, optimal environment, experience the difference, positions this unit above the commodity tier. The price supports that positioning, if not dramatically so. But buyer accounts across multiple platforms surface a pattern that the product page doesn't mention. When something goes wrong, reaching Ivation takes patience. Multiple documented buyer reports describe compressor failures in early use. The failures themselves appear to be unit-level defects rather than systemic design problems. Ivation's response in most resolved cases was to issue a replacement. The product is not inherently unreliable. But the path from my unit stopped working to I have a replacement on the way has, for some buyers, involved long hold times, unreturned messages, and eventual resolution that came later than the urgency warranted. One buyer account describes a 35-minute hold that ultimately forced a voicemail rather than a live conversation, with resolution eventually achieved, but only after follow-up persistence. For a 12-bottle unit at this price point, that service friction is a meaningful data point. It doesn't disqualify the product, but it adjusts the risk calculation. Buyers who want to purchase and never think about support again will find the Ivation more likely to deliver that experience than, say, an Amazon native brand with thinner infrastructure. Buyers who need fast resolution if something fails may find the support response slower than the price implies. The 1-year warranty is the baseline. No extension beyond competitors in this category except Cuisinart. The LCD display on the front door shows the current set temperature clearly in either Fahrenheit or Celsius. It is bright, readable in any lighting condition, and by design, always on. There is no dimming option. There is no way to turn off the display when the unit is running. In a dark bedroom, home office, or open plan living space where the unit is visible from a sleeping area, that less persistent white on black readout at shoulder height emits a noticeable glow. It's not blinding. But buyers who place this unit in a bedroom corner or a study where night environments matter have flagged it consistently. The BD6026 in this series has a blue LED interior light that creates ambiance. The Ivation's external LCD creates a different effect entirely. Functional in a kitchen, potentially intrusive in a darker ambient setting. If placement keeps the display away from where you sleep or sit quietly, this detail is irrelevant. If placement puts it in eyeline in a dim room, it's worth considering before setup. Against the Cuisinart 8-bottle, the other small format compressor unit we tested, the Ivation wins on capacity, temperature floor, and compressor performance. The Cuisinart wins on brand support infrastructure, a 3-year warranty, and a quieter thermoelectric system with no display glow. The buyer choosing between them is choosing between Cuisinart's warranty confidence and Ivation's deeper cooling range and larger capacity. Both are defensible decisions. Against the Black Plus Decker BD6026 8-bottle thermoelectric triple pane glass, the Ivation wins on temperature floor and compressor reliability in warm rooms. The BD6026 wins on silence, glass quality, and temperature low range for cold serve whites. They serve different placements in different collections. No other unit in this series approaches the Ivation's with At 9.92 inches, the form factor is effectively unique in the under $200 compressor category. If placement is the deciding factor, if the space is genuinely narrow, the Ivation is the only answer we've found. Buy it if you need a compressor wine cooler in a narrow space, under 10 inches wide, and nothing else in the market fits. Buy it if the lock solves a real access control problem in your home, office, or rental property. Buy it if you want a 41 to GF floor in a small format unit, which the thermoelectric alternatives in this category cannot reliably reach. Think carefully about placement if the always-on display will be visible in a low-light living or sleeping environment. It's a minor issue in a kitchen, a notable one in a bedroom or study. Go in with open eyes on customer service. Not because Ivation is unreliable, the unit, when it works well, but because the support path, if you ever need it, requires patience that the product's price implies you shouldn't have to spend. Skip it if you need more than 12 bottles, if you prioritize silence over compressor performance, or if you want a brand that stands behind 3 years of coverage without asking you to call back. The Ivation 12 bottle is a precise product. Narrow footprint, deep cooling, a lock that means exactly what it says. For the buyer with a specific situation, it's the right answer. For the buyer without that situation, the rest of the units in this series are worth a longer look first. Know your situation, then this decision is easy.